most people, we have a lot of people out there bragging about that they're great at things and then they're great at 20 things. It's another thing to have somebody who's a true expert. They've built their business on a certain subject, and that's what they do every day to continue to grow and build their business. This is one of those times where we bring in that kind of expert, and then we open it up the last half hour for them to ask any questions that they want, or any questions that you want, and allow them to answer those questions. So we're going to go ahead and start. I know we've got some people that are joining on, that are still joining on, and I'm just going to add them as they pop on. But that being said, welcome to the Next Level Sales Training. Today's guest expert is a friend of mine, Adam Urbanski, and I met Adam many years ago and was just invited to sit at a table with him at a public place, and he was just kind of exchanging ideas, and I was like, wow, this guy's really, really good. He's articulate and intelligent, which is a good combination. If you're intelligent but not articulate, makes it hard for other people to see how brilliant you are. So it's kind of cool that he was able to do that in such a short time that day. Then we reconnected over the years, and it's always been fun being in his presence. Always been fun listening to him exchange ideas. And the other day we're having a 2 or 3 hour coffee session, and I mentioned, man, I would love to get your expertise on sales and share with the group. And he volunteered to be on this call today. So that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Adam. He's got a half hour to share his brilliance. And then we're going to open it up for questions. And then I'll open it up for those of you that are guests that have never been here before to introduce yourself. Actually, let's go ahead and do that first. Let's go ahead and, Diana, introduce yourself, maybe a little bit of your background.
Hi, everybody. My name is, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, a little bit. It's a little light.
Little light. Let's see if we can, is that any better?
You're good. Just speak louder.
Okay.
Yeah, just speak louder.
Okay, I'll just talk louder. Hi, my name is Diana Sabatino, and I'm actually part of Adam's Rev Up revenue program. So I'm in today to hear more of his genius. My background is in sales. Sales training, sales development, mostly for Fortune 100 companies. And I've just now launched my own business, Excel Performance, that is going to be focused on helping coaches, consultants, business professionals in the sales arena.
Awesome. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how to say that name, so I'm not even going to try.
Salima, I think.
Salima.
Yes, that's Salima. Hi, guys. I was upstairs sitting beside my son, so I quickly jumped downstairs. My name is Salima Mamdani. I help interior designers and decorators create a simple marketing system inside of their business and help them bring more of their dream ideal clients for their design and decor business. And I'm also inside of one of Adam's successful games, ready to learn more about sales.
That's awesome. Carl, why don't you introduce yourself?
Just closed almost $50,000 sale last week, so congrats.
Wow, congratulations.
That's from the genius of Adam.
Oh, there you go. Congratulations. Hey, Carl, why don't you introduce yourself just so these other people know who you are?
I'm Carl Scheifele. I work for Homeowners Financial Group. I'm a mortgage loan officer, so about 6 months in the business, transitioned from the car business. So learning and growing, moving my way up. And hi, Diana.
Hey, Carl.
Awesome.
Wow, all friends here.
Yeah.
How about you, Flo?
Hi, I'm Flo Mina. I'm a creator of Farm Girl Edibles, which sells on e-commerce jams and jellies.
Awesome. And you have a subscription basis as well, right? So that could be something that could be beneficial. Let's see. And then just for those of you who don't know, my name is Bob Donnell. I'm a founder of Everything Next Level and Next Level by Association, which are personal and professional platforms and groups. And my background's all in human behavior studying, and started multiple companies, sold several companies, and have now been doing this for a little over 20 years, this particular type of program. So that being said, welcome. Adam, the floor is yours.
Wow, I appreciate you inviting me, Bob, and you were doing all those great intro talking about experts, and I was sort of like thinking, I hope he's not referring to me. But that aside, I've actually got another question. So you said, articulate, intelligent, and you said if someone is intelligent but not articulate, they can't explain. But what happens if they're articulate and not intelligent?
It could be another problem. A whole other set.
Like, I want to know what happens then. So listen, I appreciate this. And, in half an hour, it's kind of hard to squeeze a lot of things in. And my tendency is to overload people. So I took some notes, and essentially I want to walk you through some of the things that really made a big difference in selling for me. And I divided them into 3 sections, like before the actual sales conversation, during sales conversation, and immediately after. And quite frankly, the first 2 are really the most important ones. Like, what do you do before and what do you do during? Because if you do those 2 parts right, the follow-up after the conversation really is the onboarding of a new client rather than continued sales process. That said, it also depends on the type of sale and type of client, because if you do something that's more industrial in nature and requires longer sales cycles, that may require multiple meetings rather than just one call close. Another thing that I want to share with you up front is like, I'm not, supposedly I'm good at sales, but I don't consider myself a natural born salesman. In fact, when I transitioned from my restaurant industry in 2000 into consulting and coaching, it was horrible. And the first coach I hired was actually a sales coach. And I probably, like most entrepreneurs, I thought, it's like, I didn't get into this to sell. I'm not a salesperson. Selling is kind of beneath me. In fact, one of the first things I attempted to do was to outsource selling to someone else. Like, hey, you go and bring in leads and you go sell. I just want to do my genius.
Right.
And, I think if anyone has tried this in services, especially in the early stages, it just does not work. You just simply have to realize that selling is one of those fundamental components of being an entrepreneur, being in business, and you have to learn that. And another thing that I've discovered over the years, just working with clients, that getting better, even slightly better at selling, is almost like a ticket to immediately doubling sales. And a very basic example I give to this, let's just say that you sell something that has a value of $5,000 to you, and through whatever efforts you put out there every week, you generate 10 leads. You network online, you network offline, and you end up with 10 prospective clients, 10 conversations, and you close one of them, which kind of a 10% rate, unfortunately, is very typical for people. And, if you close one of them, if you just improve sales a little bit and you're able to close 2 out of those 10, same amount of work, same effort, you just brought twice the revenue that you were bringing in before. So selling is one of those fundamental levers. It's probably one of the easiest one to fix to accelerate sales very, very, very quickly. All right. So that said, let me take you through it. So again, I'm going to divide it into before, during, and after. And then we've got a few minutes. I want to squeeze in a few mindset pieces at the end that are very important as well. So, actually maybe another piece that's important, like currently I sell programs that range between 7,500 and about 25,000. That's like my core. We've got a few that are selling for more on a consulting part or 6-figure offers, but the 7,500 to 25,000, those are the offers we essentially deal with every single day. And currently, my conversion ratio is as close to 100% as it gets. So if I need 10 clients, all I need to have is 11 conversations, sometimes just 10. So it's nearly, as close to 100% as it comes. Now, again, I've worked hard to get there, and I think a big part of it is what happens before the call. So I'm going to give you 3 big things. Number 1 is filtering prospects, right? By the way, guys, if you guys are joining, just mute your own mics. I think that's going to give everybody else a nice, clean call to listen until we get to Q&A. So the filtering is you cannot close a wrong prospect on a wrong offer, right? So you have to know who you ideally can work with. And I think 90% of everything that's connected to business failure is just the refusal to do a little bit of homework up front and really clearly deciding and then clearly describing who you want to ideally do business with. Who can you be of most impact to? And then you've got to get as specific as you possibly can. So for example, like if you want to say, well, I can help entrepreneurs sell better. Well, entrepreneurs range from people that, can't even put $100 together to people that have $100 million companies. So which ones can you really support? Can you support those that are in, for example, like if the founders of the company, which stage are you ideally in? Are you a pre-seed? Are you in a seed stage? Are you working with them when they're already fully funded and already, launched into a market? Which stage of the startup, even in a startup mode, there's a sequence, right? Where ideally do you fit in? In my case, I deal with consultants and coaches, and there's still a lot of characteristics I'm looking for. I'm looking for things that, they have the freedom to put their own packages. They have the freedom to put their own prices. Ideally, they're in the kind of industry or making offers that can be sold for significant dollar amounts. Again, ideally, at the very least, $2,500 per transaction value, and ideally even more than that, more like 5,000, 10, 15, 25. Why? Because again, I know that in my case, group sales, it makes a big difference, all right? Diana, I think your mic is unmuted. If you can mute it, it's gonna help a lot. All right, so filtering is the first part. Second part is, I call it alignment. And essentially what it is, like before people even come to a conversation with me, every step of the way, if they request to have a conversation with me, it's not like, oh my God, we've got a prospect, somebody wants to know, let me just dump on them. Instead, it's always confirming that what their desire to achieve is within my wheelhouse or within my ability to deliver. So they reach out and go like, I don't have a conversation. I want to, do something. I'm like, great, awesome. Like, tell me more. Like, what intrigued you? Why did you reach out? What specifically in everything that I've got floating online attracted you to want to have a conversation? Now, if we do have a conversation, and at this point, I don't know if we will or will not, what's the ideal outcome of the conversation that you want to walk away with, right? And if someone says, well, I just want to pick your brain on something, I'm like, great, well, I don't do that. Right? So very quickly we can eliminate a bunch of things up front. And I actually think we had a conversation, Bob, where you mentioned something that, if someone comes in and says, well, I want to have a conversation, especially when people do it kind of in a friendly manner, it's having some tools in place where you can say, well, great, just so you know, I have a link here. And for $500, you can go and register and book a 60-minute session, and you can, pick my brain all you want for $500, right?
Yep.
Having some elegant processes in place to, again, ensure that alignment. So it is a conversation about bringing on a client. They need to be fully on board, like, hey, I'm exploring hiring this type of service or buying this type of product, and I'm here to explore my options. And I am, and then still you want to qualify, filter even farther. So, what's your decision-making cycle? Are you in a place, are you looking to decide now or in a year? If it's a fit, do you have financial resources? Are there any other partners involved in making the decision? I think that psychologically we have to realize that there is no better and worse. In the selling process, we both come as equal. And just as that person is evaluating you, you have all the right to evaluate them. Now, you don't have to be a douche. You don't have to be a jerk about it and go like, well, it's like, I'm so busy, I don't have time for you. But you can do it in an elegant way. It's like, yeah, I'll gladly invest the time with you and see what I have can be of service to you. But let me ask you a few questions first before we commit to the next stage, right? It's almost like if you want to go even for a cup of coffee with a potential date, wouldn't it make sense to hop on a call first and just kind of, or maybe even send each other messages a little bit and go like, hey, what are you into? Do you like coffee? Do you like tea? Do you have an hour? Do you have 15 minutes? Like basic questions, right? So this is this filtering. The second part is alignment, like why are we actually getting together? And the third part, this is very important. I call it frequency. Now, frequency of connection, what happens? Frequency builds familiarity. Familiarity builds credibility. And most people miss out on this completely. So if someone books it's Monday, someone books an appointment with you, a call with you for even tomorrow afternoon, Tuesday, or ideally something like Wednesday and Thursday, when you've got 2 or 3 days, you can squeeze in as many as 6 to 10 connection points in that time, especially if you're selling higher end programs. So consider this, the minute they book a call with you or agree, let's go forward, first message you send out, it could be as simple as Messenger on social media or an email that says, hey, let's say, Bob, you and I are doing this dance. I'm like, hey, Bob, I am so excited. We're booked for Thursday. I've got it on my schedule at 10 a.m. Make sure that you've got it at the same time, right? And, so that's just one. Then I've got another thing that I can send them and say, hey, thinking about our conversation, about a week ago or about a month ago, I recorded this 10-minute training that actually has exactly to do with what we'll be talking about. Go ahead and take a look at it over the next couple of days. I think it's going to really help us get a lot from our conversation. All right. Next morning, Bob, I'm so fired up. I was thinking about you last night. Hey, I really want to hit the ground running when we meet. We've got a short amount of time. Would you mind hitting reply and letting me know what are the 2 or 3 big things you want to address when we talk? All right. Now I've got engagement. By the way, since I have 3 days, I'm that very same day or the next day, I can pop an envelope in FedEx with a printed article and go like, hey, Bob, I wrote this a while back, was featured in Wall Street Journal. I thought you're going to enjoy reading this. See you on Thursday. Right? I just got 4 or 5 connection points a day before. Bob, are we still on tomorrow? If anything changed, let me know. Here's the phone number once again, right? Morning off. I am so excited to talk to you, Bob, today at 10. You think it's weird? Well, if you're not doing this, now someone is thinking you really, like, if you don't doing this, between Monday and Thursday, they've forgotten about you. And they go, oh, 10 o'clock, I got to talk to this Adam guy. What was that about? Meanwhile, if I did all this work, they showed up for the call going like, I know this guy. He's like my best friend. Right. And it completely changes the game. So just frequency of connections makes all the difference. And by the way, one of the techniques that I just gave you is engaging people to ensure alignment, which is, hey, Bob, what do you want to accomplish? What are the 2 or 3 questions you want to make sure that, that you want to address? Because what happens is if you send me that info, and I often say it's like, the reason I ask is because between now and then, as I go around my day, I start thinking about possible solutions for you. So I want to bring in my best ammunition to the table.
Like that. Nice.
What did I just tell them? That I'm essentially starting to work for them for free, devoting my most precious resource, attention and energy towards betterment of them. Like, who would not like this, right? I don't have to overtly say that, but it's essentially what I'm communicating. So if you do all of that before, pretty much by the time the people come to the call, and actually, let me back up. So part of this alignment is, again, asking all sorts of questions like, decision-making process, decision-making length, what's your typical cycle? What else are you evaluating? What are the key things you're looking for in an ideal solution? You have the right to ask all of this, right? And you think it's selfish and salesy. It really isn't, because most people actually have no idea what they're really looking for. They just know, like, so Carl, you in mortgage, right? They just know, I need to secure a mortgage, but how much do you really know about mortgage? Do you know what's important to look for? Do you know what's irrelevant? Because if you don't, then you're going to start buying some crap that you have no idea if it's really going to work for you or not. Versus you can be asking, what's really important to you? What are you trying? What are your concerns? Have you shopped somewhere else? What do you want to ensure that's in place for you? So that's, this frequency and alignment kind of go hand in hand. All right. So second part is what happens during the call. And so one of my biggest breakthrough in learning to sell was in the early 2001. I was helping a friend of mine, and he was actually really helping me, teaching me sales. So it was a home improvement company. And essentially, like, you get a lead delivered, delivered in the morning. Like, you get an email to you. Here's, your 5 addresses for the day, and here's, Susie and John, and they'll be waiting for you at 11. And you're walking in, you don't know, and they're interested in, replacement windows. You don't know Susie and John from Adam. You don't have no idea how they reached out the company. You just know that they have some mild interest in replacing the current windows with more energy efficient windows. And, your job is to walk in and anywhere from an hour to 2 to 3, if that's what it takes, is walk away with thousands of dollars worth in home improvement in order. Right? How do you do that? How do you really ingratiate yourself? So again, one of those parts was building rapport very, very quickly. And building rapport actually happens before you even enter into a conversation. So it doesn't matter if you do it physically or on the phone. And a lot of us are just busy. Right? Here we go, busy. Oh, it's 10 a.m. Alarm goes on. I've got a call with Bob. What did you do at 9:45 to get yourself into this place? Did you start thinking about Bob? Did you start looking in maybe on social media going like, what is he into? What did he post lately? Right? What's he into generally? What might be his state of mind right now? What might he be, concerned about or preconceived right now? And also on your own part, it's like really getting yourself clear about what are your intentions. So this is a little woo-woo, but the biggest shift that I've made in sales conversations is showing up, and essentially my sales conversations, I don't sell. If you get yourself out of selling in sales conversations, your entire game will completely change. Sales conversations are really not about sales. Sales conversations are about showing mutual fit. And essentially your entire conversation with prospective client should be devoted to one thing, which is finding red flags that would forbid you from working with them. If you can't find red flags, neither you or them, then it's a very natural outcome that they go, well, we should just work together. Well, we should, let's get started. But if you focus on let's convert them, then we naturally put up defense mechanisms, right? So this report building, it's, you know, I do a little exercise where I get myself in kind of this very clear, energetically happy state where, you know, I've got things going on, they're going well. I'm very happy about where I am in life and I don't need anything. And the only thing I'm really walking into the sales conversation with, and I often tell people that in the very first sentence, I have just one intention. I want to, whatever, hopefully by the time we're done, you will be slightly better off than you are right now. If I can accomplish that, awesome. Now, if it leads to business, fantastic, but I don't know that yet. And I have no intention to skewing the conversation so it ends up being a close for me. Like zero, because frankly, I don't know if that's even a good thing. So there's no point of setting that intention, like let's close that person. Every time you bring this conversation, bring this intention to a sales call, you're making it exponentially harder for yourself to sell, right? Mm-hmm. So this report building, actually, another part is like getting in sync with clients. So immediately, again, like, hey, Bob, are we still on for half an hour? It's still good. Are you in the place where you can actually, you're not driving, like if you're having a phone call, right? You're not driving or anything like this, right? We're still good. You have have your undivided attention. Perfect. Now, let me just double check. We still want to make sure that we accomplish this particular thing today. Is that correct? Mm. So, you know, just want to make sure that we've got all the parameters. I'm establishing all those agreements, right? I'm getting in sync right away. So second part, during the call, aside from the non-selling part, is many of us, especially if what you're selling is an expertise. So essentially you're selling yourself, like you're selling your consulting or coaching or training. We feel like we have to document how brilliant we are. Mm. And we go right into teaching and coaching and solving problems for people. And remember that selling is really nothing more than helping someone it's consulting. You're helping someone identify the big issue or identify clear symptoms, identify what those symptoms indicate, what's the actual real big issue, and identify whether or not they want to solve this issue, whether or not they have the resources to solve it, and whether or not what you offer is a good solution to address that issue. You're helping them make decisions to solve the problem, not solve the problem. So I remember a time where, you know, I like to teach, I love to teach, I love to help. So it's very natural for me, you've seen this at the dinner on last week where, you know, John said about his event and it's like out comes the hammer. I'm like, well, John, did you do this or did you do that? Or you should double the prices. You should do. Mm-hmm. And then I caught myself, I'm like, John, I apologize. I'm the typical guy, right? I see a nail, out comes the hammer and I'm start hammering. So in sales conversations, there was a time where I would actually, catch myself. I had note like, don't teach, don't solve. And I would start going one way. I'm like, let me actually, and I'll go, you know what? Let me actually ask you a different question. And I stop myself mid-sentence and redirect back to, let me not tell you how to do it, but instead, let me ask you, how do you know that's a real problem? Why is this problem important to you to address? What have you tried to solve it before? How much is this costing you? All right. Aside from finances, are there any other things that are involved in the cost of decision-making? Like, I want to know, I don't know, right? So I want to know about the problem rather than you just give me a headline. I'm like, oh, all right, I've got the solution. Let me go and fix this. Let's see. Another thing that I do during, and I call it objection crushers. And objection crushers, it's a very neuro-linguistic programming type approach. So I want to be very careful when I talk about it because it's not designed to manipulate, but it's designed to aid you in the process of taking the right person and helping them make a decision with ease. So you know that an average potential client will have a string of objections. anything from, does this work? Will it work for me? Are you the right person? Is now the right time? I'm busy. I don't have the money. I mean, all sorts of things like this. So your job is to address, if you wait until you like deliver your pitch, you vomit on a person and then they try to like unbury themselves and go like, well, I don't like this. It's too late. Now you're really selling. Now you're strong arming people. But if you bring up things up front, and you can do it by either through questions, right? And things like, you may actually say like, look, what I sell is extremely expensive. Are you in a place where you can justify this kind of investment? Rather than later on they say, well, it's expensive. You go like, well, compared to what? Like, how did you? Well, it is expensive, right? For some people, it's extremely expensive. But, we're having this conversation. How are you justifying this investment to yourself or whoever else is involved, right? Another thing is telling people stories. Like, hey, your situation, Bob, reminds me, I was just talking to John and he came in with the exact same thing, and here's what we did with John and here's what's happening for him right now. Is that the kind of thing you're looking to accomplish, right? So, and it might have been like, John came in and was super busy, or John is already very successful and may not think he needs to improve a bunch of things. Whatever you think is based on your information that you gathered with a potential client, you should have some sort of success stories that you can share. Now, don't make shit up, right? I don't want to do that. But, typically most of us have either fixed our own problems and we can share that, or we have served enough clients where we can address, here's what was going on for them, and here's what I brought to the table that's highly unique, that's addressed that thing, all right? And then one last thing that I do on sales calls, and this is probably not, I actually think it's appropriate for like 95% of sales conversations. It's eliminating buyer's remorse in advance. And I don't know if it's true or not, but I learned somewhere, well, actually, I know it's true, that psychologically what happens is if we have two choices, the minute we make choice for one thing, immediately the choice we chose against, or the option we chose against, appears more attractive. It doesn't matter which way we go, the one which opted not to pursue immediately appears more attractive. So psychologically, that's what happens. The part I'm not sure about, but I've read about it once, that there's actually a chemical process that takes place in the brain that causes that to happen, right? I don't know. But I know for a fact that we've all made a decision. The minute we said we go this way, there's a little voice go like, well, what if the other way was better? What if that was the better choice? And sometimes when it's a significant decision, a lot of money is on the line, a lot is at risk, people will disengage from the call and that voice kicks in. And sometimes they have all a dear friends that want to protect them. They start whispering in the ear and they go like, all right. And then what happens with the next day or two, you get a call, or they ghost you and send you a little note like, okay, the deal is off. I don't want to do it. And you go like, wow, so much for it. So I always do this in all my conversations where at the end, we may have all the financial information in place and everything is kind of consumed. It's done deal. And I always tell people, I do a little woo-woo part almost like, hey, close your eyes for a moment. Just like, you're not driving, obviously. So can you close your eyes for a moment? I'm great. So look, I want to make sure just take like 2 or 3 really deep breaths and just center yourself. And I just want to make sure that you really want to do this. Like, this is a 100% yes. I didn't talk you into this. This isn't some scarcity or manipulation thing. Are you 100% convinced that this is the right decision at the moment? And, and I just keep quiet. And however long it takes. And sometimes immediately people go like, oh yes, I'm all in. And sometimes, what I get is kind of like, yes. I'm like, well, that didn't sound very convincing. So what do you hesitate? There's something going on. What's coming up for you? What are you afraid of? Right. And I want to tell them like, look, the minute we get off the call, all sorts of anxieties and things will come up and it's very normal. Like you're normal. That just means you're normal. You feel things like you get scared, you anticipate, you got anxiety. It's normal. I just want to make sure that you don't get too scared to actually proceed with the solutions you know that are important to you. All right. And if that comes up, anything comes up, look, here's our access. Just call, message. We'll support you. All right. We've got stuff. We just entered a partnership. We've got your back.
Nice.
Right. So this is, I don't have studies and statistics to validate this, but I know for a fact that this, because I hear from clients or from colleagues who go like, oh my God, I get, calls, I get canceled and this. I'm like, it doesn't happen. Right? Number one is, again, I don't convince people strong arming on the call. But the second part is I just do this last part, giving people plenty of opportunities. Like, look, it's nothing happened. We didn't process the credit card. It's like, and by the way, even if you tell me no right now, I changed my mind, you're still an awesome person. Congratulations. You made an awesome decision for you, right? I don't have a need to tell you like, well, what do you mean you don't want to do it anymore? What are you, stupid? Like, this is your only chance. I have no need to belittle anybody or make them feel worse off than they already are. They're already stressing. They already have their own problems. Again, my job is to only make sure that they do a good decision for them. And I can push them a little bit and I can probe and go like, so what just happened? What came up for you? What really scared you? I can probe a little bit. I can ask them, like, are you open to addressing this? But if they're not a big deal, right? It's done. All right. So again, if you do those two sections, like before the call and on the call, right? Which the big parts on the call, again, you prepare yourself psychologically, you really clear your intentions. Your intentions are to be of service, of value to people, not to close them. You're not there to have a sales conversation. You're there to consult on, symptoms, the real problems, and whether or not it's worth solving and whether or not it's a fit between your solution. And then if you don't get too down the path of teaching, again, it's not like you don't want to give any value, right? You obviously want to demonstrate your knowledge, your ability to address issues, your credibility, your expertise, but without going completely overboard. So that's going to make a really, really big difference. After part, the last part after the call is really like, if it's a multiple call sales process, have something in place where you can follow up. Now, I'm not a big fan of proposals. I know in some cases you may have to do a proposal. Aside from an official proposal, one of the big things I share with people, if I have to follow up, is a message that essentially says, look, here's super awesome that we connected. I really want to acknowledge the person for opening up and sharing things, because that's often not easy for people to come in and say, like, I've got some things that are not broken, right? We have to realize that in our area of expertise, we're doctors that probe really delicate and sensitive topics with people sometimes. And it's really hard, we often deal with money situations, and it may be very embarrassing to people to admit that they've got some messes. We deal with relationships, and it may be very embarrassing for people to admit that there's just not everything is hunky-dory, right? So just, you have to acknowledge the fact that for someone to come to the call and really openly admit, like, I've stuff is messed in my life, you've got to acknowledge them. That takes a lot of courage, right? And they want to get somewhere else, so they master this courage to share it with you. But it's very important that you acknowledge people for this. I mean, it's a human being, it's just like you and I, and they have their own fears and hopes. And I think that's part of this process, like really treating them like the human. So the follow-up from the first part is really just acknowledging them, like, hey, it really took a lot for you to reach out, open up, and share this. I really appreciate this. And I want to demonstrate to them that I actually heard them, which is one of the things that most of us miss the most. We just want to be seen and validated, right? Yeah. So all I want to share is like, hey, when we talk, here are the 3 or 5 things I heard you share that are really a problem or really a desire or kind of the issues you want to address the most. And this is where I get to demonstrate my expertise, really, because I get to share the real issues, not just like you told me the symptoms, right? I may mention the symptoms, but like, here's what I've heard is really going on, what you've shared with me, right? And then I can add, if that's the case, then here's what we discussed would be the next steps. Should you decide to pursue it, here's how I see what I can offer that would address this. And here are the specifics. And again, I don't give them all the specific steps, but essentially I go like, here are the problems you told me. Here would be the outcomes of, here's how we make those problems go away and how your life will be better off once we implement my solutions, right? And here's what it takes to go to the next stage. And that's about it. Second thing, a couple of things that I do in follow-up. If you, I've got about 3 more minutes, Bob, all right?
Yeah, we're good.
All right, just check. I give myself a timer because I tend to go over sometimes. So the second thing I do in follow-up is continue to deliver value. All right, so depending on my conversation with the person, I tend to create content all the time, which I advise to everyone. Always think about what are your prospects, what are your clients struggling with, and keep creating all sorts of how-to training. Very short, like 3 things to do, 3 ways to do this, 5 steps to accomplish this, 3 questions to ask about that. Because then you can easily share those materials with people. So after the call, if the sale did not happen, and I think that there is room for the person to come back, I may simply send them materials like, hey, I just did another training on how to do X, Y, Z. I thought I would share that with you. Or it may even be like you found a YouTube video that's not even yours, or an article that's not yours. But you just go, hey, I found this article, thought of you. I think it might be helpful to what you're trying to accomplish. Here's a link. Now imagine you sending them to another expert, giving them some other expertise just because you want to deliver value, right? So the second step is continue delivering value. Even if it doesn't come directly from you, what comes from you is the caring that you thought about the person, right? And the last part is offering something new. You can't, the worst follow-up is like, hey, Bob, so have you thought about the deal I made you? Like, you wanna get started tomorrow? Like, you wanna send me your credit card? Like, hey, Bob, I haven't heard from you in a day. Like, you plenty of time to think. You wanna get started? It's just you beating somebody into a pulp, right? But instead, if you think about a new option, so it's like, hey, Bob, I know something didn't work out. Now, what I have in place now is a couple of new offers or a couple of new tweaks to what we used to do that might actually be a better fit for what you're trying to accomplish. Do you want to take a look at it, right? So come up with a new angle or a new offer, a new alternative for them to go like, all right, I'm still looking to solve this problem. What do you got that's different this time, right? So, and you can easily do this if you leave everything in a good standing. If you don't piss the person off, or you don't belittle them, you don't invalidate them, then they will gladly listen to you. What else you've got? Like, yeah, before it wasn't quite a fit, but what else you've got? I'm willing to take a look. All right. Last couple of things I want to share with you that are kind of like big mindset pieces, and I sort of address them along the way, but I want to highlight them. So one is that selling is nothing different than a consultation. Right? It's just you meeting with someone and you consulting them. What's going on? What are you trying to accomplish? Is this important? Is not important? What would be a good solution? How would you know you made the right decision? Kind of the basic questions. I take them for granted. I guess for some people, they don't think this way, but really put yourself in a place of just being a really good friend. You don't have anything for that friend other than just helping them go through the decision-making process. So you're asking them questions. Just ask questions. Second thing, that psychologically, that made the biggest difference, I think, more than anything else. We are brought up in most societies where sales are seen as an adversarial process, right? Essentially, we view sales as 2 people get in the ring and they duke it out, and one is going to stay standing and one is going to go down, right? So what happens emotionally, the minute we enter, I was working with a therapist, actually I'm working with her right now, and what happens is in therapy, she's doing all the same things. She's asking questions, she's probing, but in therapy, then when she does this, she thinks, well, I am being of service, I'm helping someone. But the minute it happens in a sales scenario, she's now thinking, I am getting something. I'm not providing value, I'm getting something. I'm like, explain this to me. In therapy, questioning is a therapeutic process to solve a problem. This is what they pay to get value. In sales, you're doing the exact same thing. You're providing a boatload of value to help somebody accomplish, get clarity, but yet now you're feeling guilty that you are getting something and not giving value, right? So that's the part. So in my world, I essentially go, we don't do this. Instead, imagine that you're sitting with the prospective client across the desk, and what you're doing, like, excuse me, Bob, I know that there is an issue you're looking at that I can't see it. Would you mind if I came on your side of a table and then you show me what you see, and then together we'll take a look at it. And if it makes sense, maybe 2 heads are better than 1. Maybe we can figure out a way to address it. But first things, I want to see what you see. Would that be okay with you? Right? No one will ever tell you, no, I don't want to do that. Right? It's like Mission Impossible. They're immediately on the same page with you because you just said, look, show me. I just want to see. I just want to understand. Right? I don't want to just tell you, I've got shit for you. I don't know if I've got stuff for you. I just want to know, what do you see? All right? That is the big thing. And actually, 2 more quick points. Disattach yourself from the outcome. I talked about it as well. When you enter the conversation, disattached from your so it's, and sometimes when financially in a tight spot, it's one of the hardest things to do. This is where the kind of pre-call energetic setting reset, takes place, where I don't need this sale. I don't need this person to be my client. All I'm showing up is to be of service, to add value. And the last part is this: realize that when someone comes to you and they actually have this enrollment sales conversation, and when the sale does not take place, two people walk away disappointed. The potential client walks away disappointed because they've done a tremendous amount of work and research and preparing and looking for a solution. And when they booked that call, when they agreed to meet with you, in their mind, they thought to themselves, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what will deliver me from my misery. Maybe this will be the solution I'm looking for. And then if it's not, in their mind, they go like, dang, I go back to square one. I've got to keep researching, keep looking for something else. This was not it. I was hopeful this would be it. This is not it. And as a person selling, you walk away disappointed because, well, maybe it was, paying the bills or paying off debt or saving for college for kids or whatever, or going on vacation. And now you don't get to have that. Like, hopefully you still get to eat, right? But you walk away disappointed because it could have been a little bit more of financial windfall for you, and now it's not. So two people disappointed. So keep that in mind, that it's your job to be as good as you possibly can to allow the most ideal prospects to say yes to your offers, right? It's not about closing the wrong people just because you need to make a buck, but every single person that wants to make an investment, wants to buy, wants to solve a problem, they all have fears, they all have barriers, they all have thoughts that kind of stop them from this. We were all preconditioned around all certain issues. And your job is like, just simply help them address this and see the way clear through making that decision. All right? You're still muted, Bob.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Here's the question I have is, so say somebody is already into the second part, but they've skipped the first part. They haven't done the groundwork like you're talking about, the advances, all the advanced stuff. And they're already in the second part. Mm-hmm. What do you say to that person to compensate for what they've missed, knowing that the next time they need to do it differently?
Yeah, no problem. So if you have even as little as an hour before the call, you can still message someone and do that. Hey, I know we're meeting in an hour, kind of last minute. Hey, hit a quick reply really quick and send me one or two sentences like, what do you ideally want to accomplish when we meet, right? Even that little last minute prep work. By the way, even if they don't respond to that message, as long as they see it, their brain starts kicking in like, what do I want to accomplish, right? Yeah. And then whether you did this or not, the minute you get on the call, the most important part is get on the same page with someone. So do use things like, hey, listen, here's, I don't know what your agenda is. I'm going to ask you in a moment, but let me tell you right up front what my agenda is for this call. And my agenda is I've got absolutely zero agenda except for one thing. I want to help you come as close to solving your problem as humanly possible in the time we've got together. Would that be okay with you? All right. My agenda is I want to leave you better off. My agenda is I want to provide as much value as I can in the time we've got together. Would that be okay with you? Right? I mean, again, this is a script. So you've got to be genuine. It doesn't work if you really have a bunch of hidden agenda and you go like, I'm saying this was going to really be a nice little trick.
Sure.
Tricks may work for you once or twice, but it's going to also make you leave very, void of really good feelings afterwards, right? So use it appropriately. And the second part, so that's one part, establishing this alignment. And the second part is diving right into questions like, Bob, I really want to know what's going on for you, and also maybe putting the person at ease, like, I know this is a very delicate situation for you. So look, I will be asking a lot of probing questions. It might be uncomfortable. Are you okay with that? I've got no judgment. Whatever is going on, I've seen it all. Kind of like a doctor. I've been a doctor for many years. I've seen this all. Like, you would not believe the shit I've seen. And you know what? It's all human. Right. It's all normal. So what I promise you on my part, zero judgment. I'm here to help you as much as I can, and whatever is going on, if I can get you to, if I can make you at ease enough to share this, and I really can help you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So next question is, so somebody is now, if you're looking back on your history, because you've done this for a long time, where do you think most people trip up? Is it in the beginning? Is it the the advanced stages, or is it the after stages or the follow-up?
Man, I think I would have to say three things. I mean, it's like there is no one thing that's almost more important than another, but I would say three things really trip people up. One is that they talk to the wrong person. Right? They don't do this upfront filter. They don't even know who an ideal person is.
Right.
So, and then because they don't know this, you talked about the non-negotiables, right? So one of the non-negotiables, and by the way, for those of you who don't know it, like that's one of Bob's training things, and he's just genius at it, helping people figure out what's really non-negotiable for you and kind of different things in life. So the same thing goes in sales. What's non-negotiable for you when you're bringing on a new client? Who can you truly be of service, right? So versus who you cannot. So that upfront part is very important. The second part would be really mentally realizing that selling by itself has a tremendous amount of value. And the reason for it is, again, done right, selling process helps the person that you are selling to or guiding down this decision-making path. It's allowing them to gain tremendous amount of clarity. And most people, what they're really struggling, what they're really craving more than anything else is some sort of clarity, like what should I do next with this? What's really going on here? What should I do next with it? They really don't know. They are dealing with, they're overwhelmed by the amount of information and options. And to help them figure out what's really relevant and what's best for them, that is priceless. And by the way, that you need to do this in order to know that you actually are the right solution, or whatever you're selling, that it's the right solution. So it's a very normal process. It should be completely non-negotiable for you to go through this process.
Right.
And again, sometimes we get tripped up that there's no value in it. There's just tremendous amount of value for the person. And so that's number two. And number three, I would say really get curious. Because most of us, again, I use my own example. Somebody shows up, a little problem, and I'm like, ding, 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 I got a solution. No, I don't know if I have a solution. Maybe you've heard this. Maybe you've tried this. So it does, I used to teach this, that assumption is first step to hell. Don't assume you know.
Right.
In fact, assume you don't know jack about jack. Every time they say things, you just go, wow, interesting. Tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more.
One of the things I teach when I do my masterminds and things like that is I have a whiteboard that's a whole wall at my old house. And so I would say, how much, if this represents all the knowledge in the world, how much do you think, if the wall represents all of the knowledge, how much of it do you think you know? And they'll always go, a dot.
Yeah.
And I'll go, but yet every time you solve a problem, you go back to the dot to try and solve the problem.
Yep.
Versus what I like to do is I just go, I know nothing. So if I know nothing, then what could I learn in this process of discovering how to solve this problem?
Yep.
And but you're so right. I mean, we approach it with the limited knowledge that we have, thinking that that's all there is, but there's so much more. So thank you for sharing that. So let's open it up. Who has some questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I need to highlight that. I think that, I don't know where it comes from. You may have done more work around this than I did. But somehow we feel that unless our lips are flapping and we are talking and we are delivering information, if we just ask questions, we have this perceived, mindset that we're not providing value, right? And if you just ask the right few questions and you shut up and let the person go through this, we've provided more value than just flapping for an hour and they can't really absorb it anyway.
Amen. No doubt about that one. Who has a question?
I do.
Okay.
Adam, do you have like a list of questions already kind of set so that you kind of know what to ask for the person that you want to work with?
I do. That's a good question, actually, because I think that I do. So some of my clients probably went through like through my training recently that might know it more than I even do. So I do have a list of questions, and I think I ask a lot of them up front. So again, like things, what do you actually do? What are the issues you're dealing with? What are the things that you offer? You know, what are the solutions you're looking for? What's an ideal solution look like to you? You know, what are your decision-making constraints? So are there other people involved, timelines, financial resources? I may even ask things like, how do you know this is the right thing for you to focus on right now? I may ask a lot of things up front. And then in conversations, essentially, you know, I'm going to give you a couple of questions that open a lot of things. So one question that I use, I call it my magic wand question. All right. Actually, I'm going to give you 3 questions. One is my magic wand question. And magic wand essentially goes, look like this. Flo, so you've got your e-commerce business, right? Ideally, if you had a magic wand and you could just wave it and make anything happen, what would be the top 2 or 3 things you would want to accomplish next in your business? Right? And that just starts the person on the right track telling me, by the way, little added value here. I'm always looking for forward focused person versus past focused person. So that question allows me to identify this. And what I mean by that is if I ask you, what do you want to accomplish? And you say, well, Adam, you know, I'm in sales here and I want to be there. Right now, you know, I've got, you know, 1 person on a team. I want to add at least 1 more person. Like you're telling me what you want. That's a forward thinking person. I like that. They have a target and they want to hit it. A past focused person or problem focused person starts telling me, well, I'm really dealing with those crappy customers and I don't want to deal with crappy customers. I'm like, you didn't tell me what you want. You just told me what you don't want. You focused on a problem. That is a problem for me. Right? I can't make you start thinking differently fast. Like I can get you somewhere fast, but thinking you haven't made a decision to move yet. You're still stuck in the decision that I want to complain. That's not a good prospect. So that's a good question that allows me to figure a couple of things out. Second question that I ask is this may be a little farther down the line, but it's also a question that allows me to figure out what's really important for them. And it's called the conditions of satisfaction, right? So essentially it's like, so Flo, if we were to do this, if we were to work together, and let's say we look at it 90 days from now, what would have had to have happened in those 90 days for you to be absolutely ecstatic about the decision to move forward and work with me, right? 90 days from now, we've implemented the solutions. What would have had to be in place for you to be just absolutely over the moon about the fact that you have made this decision and we move forward, right? So again, a little bit, it could be a little NLP-ish because you're putting people in a future state of mind. Right? But what's really important for me, I'm looking like, how will they measure success? And based on what they've just told me, can I actually deliver that? Because if I can't, and I still take the client on, I may make money right now, but I'm setting myself up for some huge disappointments and problems. Because that person for sure will be coming back going like, well, you know, it's like, it doesn't quite feel like we've accomplished much. Of course it doesn't, because we didn't hit what they wanted. Right. So that's very important for them to be clear and very important for me. Another question that I may ask is like, this is kind of Bob down your line. I may ask them this, you know, when it comes to this solution, what are the 2 or 3 most important criteria that you are looking for? And people will often say like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, what I mean is that most people actually really don't know what they want. And the problem with it is twofold. 1, if you don't know what you want, I don't know if I can deliver. And 2, if you don't know what you want, even if it hits you on the head with a 2x4, you will still miss it. Right? So if you don't know what your criteria is, then maybe that's where we have to start. Like, what would be the 2 or 3 criteria in an ideal solution for you? And let's identify that. And maybe, by the way, in that process, we may discover that what I do and what I want to offer you is completely not right for you. Perfect. I still left that person with a ton of value, and they're going to get off the call and talk to me about all the friends going like, you don't believe what I just, you know, eureka moment. I just discovered what's truly important to me. And they feel so on cloud 9 and they want to talk me up to everybody else.
Like that.
Okay, thank you.
Who else? Next question. Mandy, go ahead.
Is this being recorded?
It is being recorded. It'll be put in my membership site.
Is there, I'm here with Adam. I'm wondering if we might be able to have a copy of this.
Mandy, you're not here with me. You over there, I'm over here, okay? Let's just not make misstatements like this. But
yeah, Adam will get a copy. This is put up into our membership site for members. And but Adam and I'll make sure Adam gets a copy for him.
All right, thank you.
So Mandy, once I have it from Bob, I'll share it with our clients area as well.
Thanks so much. This is gold.
Thank you, Mandy.
Next question. Awfully shy. Carl.
It's funny. I was just going to call on Carl because your situation is like different. You in a mortgage land. You know, what's going through your mind? What would help you the most?
I just can't wait to get into the situation for the sales piece because I'm like trying to find the clients. That's my whole thing is prospecting, and that's where I'm at. So,
okay.
Can I ask a couple of questions around this?
Sure.
What are you doing for your lead generation right now? What are you focusing on?
I'm out working, meeting agents at open houses, and then calling the people that I know in my sphere and just letting them know my change of occupation. Hey, you know, if somebody's looking or mentioned something, hey, please refer me.
All right. In your, are you looking for a specific kind of client, like first-time buyers or buyers of X value property? Like, have you identified a sweet spot for yourself yet, or?
No, not really. I mean, because we handle all the different types of loans, so I'm really thinking just there's so many millennials that are on the verge of, you know, wanting to make a purchase that's a great area to target too.
True. So you know what? It's a very counterintuitive and scary decision to go from like we can handle it all to being very focused. But when you get very focused, you go from commodity to really high value. So if you, for example, identify that I want to work with millennials, so like 25 to 30, who have high paid professional jobs and or high paid tech jobs. So they're getting paid $125,000 a year. They've got unique issues. So now you may want to start thinking things like how to buy your first house, even if you've got a ton of school loans, college loans, right? And like 3 things you can do to qualify for higher level mortgage, even if you've got a ton of education debt. Now you see, you start addressing issues like this, or things. 7 things millennials don't know about buying the first property. So you start thinking about putting things like this in your social media presence, and even sharing with agents. You go like, hey, if you come across people like this might be helpful information for them. So essentially what starts happening, if they have interest in buying a house, they start asking questions like this: how much mortgage will I qualify for, right? So even if you start putting the same, like how to quickly do your own calculations, how much mortgage can you afford, right? For you, it's super easy to put like step 1, step 2, step 3 on one piece of paper. For most people, they have no idea how to figure it out, right?
Right.
So, and by the way, tools like this exist and information like this exists. It doesn't matter. Like, forget about the fact someone else is doing this. It doesn't matter, because you're going to do it in your own way, and it's going to come from you. And when they find it from you, they now start seeing you as the value provider. And the first natural thing would be like, well, once I'm ready to pull a trigger, I'll look up Carl versus anybody else.
Gotcha. I like that.
Awesome.
I like that.
Who else? Any other questions? All right. Well, we will we'll wrap this up. We're going to get a copy of this over to Adam. Adam can take care of you guys if you're a member of his programs. Just so you know, we do this every week. I bring on a different guest expert every week. We've had people who founded ACT, which was the CRM program. Yep. We've had Scott Schilling, who's a stage. He sells from the stage. We've had Joe Ingram, who sells and does training in car dealerships. And we've had a lot of great people. And every week we're just bringing on another expert. So if you want information on that, shoot me a message. It's simple. It's $99 a month or $47 a month if you commit to a year. And it's for the $99 you get four of these So plus you get all the recordings that we've had. So that being said, guys, I just want to tell Adam, thank you again for hopping on. I always love just learning from you, and our interchange, our exchanges have always been really beneficial to me. So I really appreciate you, and appreciate everyone who hopped on that didn't know who I was, but you hopped on for Adam. I appreciate you being on the call, and look forward to connecting with you guys further beyond this point. That being said, guys, get out there, make it a great week, and enjoy your next level.
Thanks, Adam.
Take care.
Thanks, Adam.
Nice meeting everybody.
Thank you very much.